Hey everybody, it is Shatanice Reese here with Super Extraordinary Mom LLC, which is an HR consulting firm. And it is day 2 of day 14, or 14 days of talking about resume and interview tips. So if you joined me yesterday, I talked about finding your purpose and understanding your passion, because we can't create a resume if you don't know what your purpose is and what your passion is, what you have been created to do. So that's what we spent our time on yesterday. And so if you missed yesterday's video, feel free to peruse my Facebook page, also on LinkedIn, and you'll be able to find that video from yesterday. So today we're talking about what exactly is a resume. So what I want you to think about is a resume serving as a key. A key to what? A key to open doors. Hey, thanks for joining. I see you're joining me. Hello, happy Thursday. The week's going by so quickly. So yes, a resume is a key. You want your resume to be an excellent example of everything that you've done up until this point in your career. The key, your resume, will then open doors for you so that you're invited in to interview. And so we want to be able to use that resume to your advantage. And so it's got to be succinct and clear. And that's what we're going to spend the rest of our time together talking about, what your resume should look like. And so feel free to ask questions, and if you have any other suggestions that you have used, feel free to share those too. So I see someone saying, hey, Tarika. So a resume can also be thought of as bait. Do I have any fisher people, any anglers in the group, in the audience? Well, I really enjoy fishing. And you can't fish successfully unless you have the right bait. And so that's exactly what a resume is, your bait. Now, where you fish, we'll talk about that later, because you could fish in a pond, you could fish in a lake, you could go deep sea fishing. But for right now, for today, we're just talking about the bait that you're using. Are you using a worm? Are you using fake bait? Are you using some snails or other types of bait that you may use? It all depends on what you're trying to catch, right? And that's why we are crafting and working on our resume as carefully as we can. So when you are invited in, that's a good indication that your resume showed and highlighted what your experience has been and what you can do. So the resume gives everyone that looks at it an opportunity to see what you've done, where you've been, and what your skill sets are. Resumes they're not looked at for a long period of time. I mean, literally. And so your resume has to be on point, or it will be placed in the file 13. Do you know what the file 13 is? Yeah, it's the trash can. And we don't want that. Or it's just simply sitting in their ATS, which is their applicant tracking system. And so I want to spend a little bit of time on the heading of the resume. So that's the top portion of the resume where all of your contact information is placed. You'd be surprised at how many individuals don't have the correct information on the top of their resume, and therefore give the hiring managers and recruiters a reason to just simply discard. That's what we're doing. As HR professionals, as hiring managers, as recruiters, we're looking for a reason to push your resume to the side, because depending on the role, we could have anywhere from hundreds to thousands of resumes that we have to sift through. And so we need a quick way to move them to the left or to the right. And so you have to keep that in mind, as you're thinking about your next opportunity. Put yourself in the hiring manager's shoes and think, is this someone that I really want to invite in? Your resume should decrease the risk decrease any anxiety that the hiring manager may or may not feel. That's the point of the resume, to show them the percentage of what you have and how successful you could be in the role for which they're advertising. So at the top, you should absolutely have your name. Your name should be the largest portion of your contact information at the top of your resume. I would caution against any type of fancy font, anything with extra swirls on it. And the reason behind that is because the rest of your resume, we want it to be searchable. We want it to be easily read, meaning legible. And so any type of basic font, but make sure it's large. And I'm not suggesting that it's in all caps. I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying the font size, your name should be the largest. It should jump out at whomever is reviewing your resume. Secondly, after your name, you can have, oftentimes people put their address, which is absolutely fine. If you don't put your address, I think people may review it and have a raised eyebrow as to why there's not an address on there. But you can certainly, I would encourage you to have your address listed. And a professional resume or email address. It does not do you any good to have pookyboo@gmail.com or drop it like it's hot at hotmail.com. You should have a professional email address. Now, what you do on your personal time, have at it. But when you are applying for opportunities, you should have a professional email address. And so I recommend either your first name dot last name, or some combination of your first and your last name, or even your first initial and your last name at any of the email accounts that are offered. So that's Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, whatever the case may be. Hey, I see a couple more folks have joined. How's everybody doing? Hello, Stacy. And so, yes, if you don't have a professional email address, go get one right now and replace it, whatever that you have on your email address, on your resume. I chuckle, and hear me when I say I don't automatically rule people out if they don't have their professional email address, but it is distracting. And one other reason why it's slightly distracting is because video interviews, which we'll talk about later in one of our other days, are becoming more and more prevalent. So you want your email address that's attached to, whether you're using Google Hangouts or whether you're using Skype, those are all usually attached to your email address. And so you want your email address to be professional. So we have our name, large font, we have our address, and we have our email address. Now, depending on your role, your industry, your background, I would also recommend that you have a LinkedIn account. LinkedIn has been coined as the professional version of Facebook. It's still true that people find opportunities through other people, through their network. So it's like 6 degrees of separation. So who you know and who they know, and then who they know, you never know. But really, you might be able to find your next opportunity through your network. So imagine yourself as an octopus, and you have multiple arms, 8 arms to be exact. And so your arms, they increase your reach, and you're able to touch your sphere of influence. And so creating a LinkedIn account is absolutely essential. Again, depending on your background and your industry. So for me, for example, as an HR professional, I have a LinkedIn account. And while you're on LinkedIn, you can connect with specific groups in your industry. So I'm connected with diversity and inclusion individuals. I'm connected with recruiting individuals. I'm also connected with HR individuals. There's several bodies of HR organizations. for example, the Society of Human Resource Management, SHRM, and also HRCI, which is the HR Certification Institute, they also have groups. So you would have groups specific to your particular industry and background. And so I would recommend that you, again, create your LinkedIn profile and connect with those groups, with as many groups as possible, because connecting and making associations will get you noticed, and you never know when your next opportunity may be. And so that's essentially it for today. And so I want to recap. Yesterday, we talked about making certain you know your purpose and your passion, because you don't want to work somewhere that you hate. We spend so much time at work and around other people that are not considered family that you should be where you're supposed to be. If you're not operating in your passion or your purpose on a daily basis, you're taking up someone else's seat. Really, let's keep it 100, as I say, or let's keep it real. And someone else is sitting in your seat. So we want you to be where you're supposed to be. And if you're a person of faith, it's so important for you to be where God wants you to be. So that's what we talked about yesterday. And so today we're only talking about the top portion of the resume, which is having your name, your address, your professional email address, not drop it like it's hot, and LinkedIn, depending on your background. And as I stated earlier, make certain that your name is the largest portion within that contact information. Oh, and don't forget your cell phone number. We want the hiring managers and recruiters to be able to call you. So, and you don't necessarily need to put, if you have multiple numbers, then certainly identify if this is a cell phone or if this is an office phone. But in most cases, you don't necessarily need to put cell phone in parentheses after it. So again, your name, your address, your professional email address, and if you have a LinkedIn account, have that listed, as well as your phone number. And so you can certainly have it in that order. And in terms of where to have it located, I would encourage you to take up as much space as possible at the top. And so there's a way that you can center your name and your mailing address, and then perhaps have your cell phone number and your email address off to the right and the left. So that way it's taking up as much space as possible at the top of your resume, because you want to maximize on that space that's up at the top. So that's it. Today's topic. So don't miss tomorrow, because we're going to talk about the objective, to have or not to have. That is the question. And I want to make you aware that if you want professional one-on-one coaching with me, feel free to send me a message. You can reach me here, of course, via Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter, and we can have a conversation about what that would look like. But just for your own information, any 1 hour session, you will walk away with an enhanced resume, an elevator pitch, as well as the ideal cover letter. And so that's a lot packed into 1 hour. It's a value that I encourage you to investigate. So feel free to share this video, and it will be posted on YouTube as well. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and come back tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you all for joining me. Also, if you have other questions regarding resume and interviewing that you'd like to make certain that I cover, leave that in the comments, and I'll make certain I include that in one of my upcoming days. So this ends day 2 of our 14-day time together talking about resume and interview tips. And my name is Shatanice Reese. I've enjoyed spending some time with you. Talk to you soon. Bye.